Hey, it's David Yeck here, and thanks for listening. So I've been thinking about going on a healthy diet. Now, one that I hadn't considered that is currently very popular is the keto diet. So I invited Thom King to take me through it. Now, Thom is the founder and CEO of Stevia Brands Incorporated. It's one of the largest importers, manufacturers, and distributors of natural sweeteners. He is a self-described biohacker and has made it his life's work to study food science and use his knowledge to help people eat healthier, avoid harmful sugars, and maintain diet and exercise habits that defeats metabolic disease. So if I can get past my nasal congestion, that's what we'll yak about today. What's up, everybody? David Yeck here for Yak About Today, hoping you are better, healthier, and more informed than any generation that came before. So if the years 46 to 64 mean something to you, then this is the place you want to be. Now put your headphones on, go for a run, and listen to what we yak about today. All right, we are back. I'm David Yeck here. You're listening to Yak About Today, and I am here with Thom King as promised. He is the founder of Stevia Brands and author of a book we're going to be talking about today called Guy Gone Keto. All right, I'm so thrilled to have you, Thom. This is going to be great because I have an audience that's, a 55 plus audience that is looking to live forever. And, they want to talk about diet and health. And I think this will be a conversation that would be great for them. So welcome and thanks for coming.
Thanks, David. I appreciate you having me on. Super excited for this. I'm over 55. So, yeah, this should be an interesting conversation.
Okay. So, we're going to get into things in stages. But one of the things I notice about my audience, and especially for me, I should say me first and then the audience, is that they always like the background of people, because a lot of people have stories, and I think you do too, because I read most of your book. I haven't finished it. But the stories and of when you were very young and how it influenced who you are today was really compelling. So maybe you can sort of fill in the audience on what that is, what that was like.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Colorado and actually grew up on a ranch in Colorado. So I'm just an old farmhand. But, when growing up, my folks, we ate a lot of desserts and a lot of sugar and processed foods. Spaghetti was kind of a mainstay for us. So at a pretty young age, I started battling what I called yo-yo weight. I would be skinny, then I'd be fat, then I'd be skinny. And I never was, I went on a quest to be able to figure out why that is, and that's what drives me.
So what I really found interesting is the effect. I think your family moved to a ranch, and you became sort of a ranch hand or something like that, and that sort of influenced you because of your work with cows and animals and lifting hay, and you started getting in touch with vegetables and, growing food. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, we had chickens, we had geese, we harvested the eggs. My dad was a cattle rancher, so, we were harvesting, our own meat and stuff. So, growing up, I would have grass-fed beef, and it was really the only way that I understood, eating. So, I would say slave labor, because I never got paid, but I did a lot of heavy lifting, getting up in the morning, and those Colorado winters get pretty cold, that I have to break the ice off of the stream that ran, behind the ranch, so the cows could get water, and I would be giving them hay, and that's all before I would go to school. So it was at the time, it was horrible punishment. It felt like horrible punishment, but as you grow older, you really, really appreciate the work ethic that it sort of instills in you.
It's sort of what people used to say when they said, that part of my life is added character to my being,
It definitely added character. And when my dad used to tell me he'd walk 2 miles in snow, just to get to school. I literally had to do that. So I would have to catch the bus, like at 5:30 in the morning as a kid, and I would be walking through a couple feet of snow. And so sometimes those things that you think are BS turn out to be true.
Yeah. So this is, I guess, a tough question or maybe an easy question. But since you started your book, it really fascinated me, the fact that you started the Keto book. Both about your personal issues. And one of the things you say at the very, very beginning is, I really wasn't a very nice or good person. Take us through that, because it's your quest in food and all that changed you. But take us on how you analyzed yourself enough to sort of open up with a book. It says, well, I wasn't very nice, and I was divorced, and I didn't treat people well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I just went through a period of my life where, I wasn't very self-reflective. And I think it had a lot to do with the success of my business. Cause like once you start finding, monetary success, I think it's easier to overlook the part of working on yourself. So, really the book for me is like more of a confessional and a journal and a trip, rather than your typical, keto diet book. So I don't really consider it a diet book at all. It's more of a lifestyle book, and it's more about my quest. And, I came from a family that, had impeccable integrity. And I really, I was in the food industry, still am in the food industry, and we supply a lot of sports nutrition companies with keto friendly sweeteners for their product. And, here I was drinking a bottle of wine every night and eating pizza and eating dessert and carrying, 35 pounds of extra weight. And, I was at a trade show in Las Vegas, looked in the mirror in the morning, and I'm like, this is not the person that I want to be. And I really felt like I was living a lie and not having the absolute best integrity that I could. And that brought me the pain that really enabled me to, leverage a complete and total lifestyle change.
I wasn't going to do it this way. I really want to step back for a second, because I really want to talk about the stevia brands, because I think entrepreneurs are really sort of fascinating. I used to think that I was a great entrepreneur, but then when I look back, I thought not so much. But you founded a company, and I love this story. I mean, it's one of those stories that if you sort of based it on reality, but you did it a little differently, like you were hiking through Peru, and all of a sudden you came upon a leaf, and you were hungry, and you ate a leaf, and it was so sweet. You had this amazing realization that this was the next sweetener. So tell us how it really happened.
Well, how it really happened, so in the book, it describes how I actually met a gentleman. His name is Jim May, and he had come back from Paraguay. And that's, and he had a variety of different herbs that, that he was working with. And this was back in the very early 90s, maybe the late 80s. And he had these mashed up leaves in sort of a paste that he's like, here, try this. And when I tasted it in its natural state, it was stevia leaves, and in its natural state, it was about 25 times sweeter than sugar. And when, the second I tasted it, like a light bulb went off, and I'm like, there's got to be a way to be able to extract these sweet constituents, from the leaf, because this was about the same time that aspartame was cleared by the FDA as a food ingredient. And so the second that I tried that, I thought, what, sometime in the future, stevia is going to be the natural version of NutraSweet.
And aspartame was the one that is in Equal. Is that right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So that would be your pink packets. And
Oh, pink packets. Right. And then there's the blue, which is back then the blue packets were equal, and they claimed that was a natural supplement, and then the yellow packets they claimed that was a natural substance.
yeah, and I think that there was a lawsuit and that had to change. So the yellow packets are actually sucralose, and sucralose is made from a chlorinated sugar molecule. So it's not really considered natural.
And you're the green packets, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that they are very sweet, the green packets. And
Yeah.
do they have health benefits in themselves, or is it just something that replaces what's bad for you?
It's just something that replaces what's bad for you. So the actual stevia leaf, if you were to consume just stevia leaf powder, that does have some health benefits. But once you extract those sweet constituents out of the leaves, you have what's called stevioglycosides, and they're about 250 times sweeter than sugar. So, and those don't really have any health properties per se, but they do. It is a good sugar substitute, and it doesn't affect blood sugar levels.
All right, we're going to have to take a break now. I'm David Yakir. You're listening to Yak About Today, and I'm with Thom King. He's the founder of Stevia Brands and author of a book we're going to be talking about, Guy Gone Keto. So hold on, we'll be right back. I just want to do a shout out now to New Vision Eye Center. They are a big supporter of this show, as we are of them. And I can promise you, if you have difficulty with your eyes, there is no better place to go. So go to New Vision Eye Center and see Doctors Minotti, Reinauer, Tate, and O'Brien, because I wouldn't trust my eyes to anyone else. All right, we are back. I'm David Yakir. You're listening to Yak About Today, and I am with Thom King. He's the founder of Stevia Brands and author of Guy Gone Keto. So, Thom, I want to stay with Stevia Brands for a second, because I think it's important for those people who actually run companies, and just to give you a little about my background. And I'm about to ask you about corporate culture, because I started one of the very first of what was called internet marketing companies back in '93, and it grew to about 600 people. But I never understood corporate culture. Back then it was about, finding people who work well, who are smart, who get out the work, and providing them with a nice place to work. But corporate culture has really evolved over the last 25 years, type of thing. And from what I've read, you have a very unique corporate culture that's based on health and fitness and a lot of other things. Tell us about your corporate culture.
Well, because we manufacture sweeteners, and a lot of it's for the sports nutrition category. A lot of our employees have sort of adopted ketogenic lifestyle or low carb. And what's interesting is the people that do come to work here, probably within 6 months, end up losing anywhere from 10 to 50 pounds. Like, we've had some people lose up to 50 pounds. And I think it's just because they become very aware of what they're eating, because our corporate culture is all about, creating like products that impact people's lives in a positive way. So, there's what I call diabetes epidemic. There's a lot of obesity, and diabetes is growing exponentially.
That's right.
So we focus on health and creating healthy products. And I think that the benefit of that is when we get new employees come in, their eyes suddenly open, and it's like, oh, this is how I've been eating. No, I'm going to start eating a lot better. So it's really interesting to see people transform, their lifestyle, and then you see it completely, reflected in their attitude at work, and where it ceases to be work and now becomes a cause. So that's pretty much our sort of corporate culture and environment here.
All right, so now we're getting to the good stuff. The book. Okay, let's start from the very beginning, like they say in The Sound of Music, right?
Nice.
What is the ketogenic diet?
Well, the ketogenic diet is pretty simple. People try to make it complicated, but it is simply a diet that's high in fat, and it forces your body. So your liver actually metabolizes fat and turns it into ketone bodies, and then those ketones are available for your brain to use as an energy source. So the beauty of the human brain is it can function both on glucose and fats, and it's been found that your brain actually functions better on fats than it does uh, sugars and carbohydrates. So in a nutshell, the diet is basically 70% fat, 20% protein, and 10% carbohydrates. And so the 10% carbohydrates that you're going to have come from cruciferous vegetables. So basically vegetables that grow above the ground, and you want to avoid high glycemic vegetables like corn, potatoes, and things like that, and no fruit. So, I mean, you can have berries because berries are really low glycemic, but by and large, you're going to be eating a lot of fat like avocados and salmon and cheese, butter, and you can supplement with just what's called MCT oil, multi-chain triglyceride. So, that would be the ketogenic diet in a nutshell.
So now I understand why people are using butter in their coffees. Anyway, so this one fascinated me because it seems that it goes, the question I'm about to ask seems to go beyond just dieting. You talk at great length about pain. And the reason I find that so fascinating, the way you discuss it, that change is not easy. You say things like, this is a marathon. And as I was reading it, I took it out of just changing my eating habits and started looking at it in other aspects of my life. In other words, you have ambitions or there are goals you have. But unless you really set, I think, the groundwork, to achieve those goals, knowing very well that it's not easy. There are outside influences, your current circumstances. There are all these things that prevent you from achieving these goals. You use it in terms of changing your diet forever. You talk about really looking at your friends, right? Who's influencing you and the choices you have to make. Take us through and explain to everybody the pain that's involved. I mean, I don't mean for you to discourage everybody from going on the a ketogenic diet, but help them understand really what it takes and what the process is, as opposed to, I think you said, eating cabbage and losing $10 pounds in a week or something.
First off, David, I want to thank you for that compliment, because whether you realize it or not, the book really isn't just about adopting a ketogenic lifestyle. This is about what it takes actually to make a change and adopt different lifestyles. So I use pain as leverage. So because human beings really function only on two basic emotions. One is to avoid pain and to seek out pleasure. So if you've got a bad habit that is bringing you what you perceive as pleasure, if you're able to associate so much pain with that particular habit, it will outweigh the amount of pleasure that you're deriving from it. For instance, if you're about to eat a donut, if you really meditate and drill down deep into, really what's that donut going to do, you're going to be fat. You're not going to want to look at yourself in the mirror. You're going to deteriorate your health. When you associate all that pain with it, and even like add in, if you eat that donut, it's going to shorten your life. When you start associating that much pain, bad habits become a lot easier to vanquish. And I mean, for me in my everyday life, it's like I welcome pain. I mean, pain is an opportunity to learn about oneself and to actually grow. So yeah, bring the pain.
All right. I have a question. And actually, when I told people I was going to interview you, they said to me, "Isn't that the Atkins diet?" And I'm not sure I understand. Is it is it sort of based on the Atkins diet and then with more modern understanding of food? I'm not sure.
Yes and no. So the Atkins diet was way higher protein. So you could get into ketosis using Atkins. I mean, Atkins is more of a low carb. I would say the primary difference between Atkins and a ketogenic diet is a ketogenic diet has a way more fat and less protein. And I mean, the Atkins diet, was, I think, born in the 80s, where a ketogenic diet was actually used for thousands of years to control epilepsy. So because it has such a profound effect on brain function, it was used, I think, by the Egyptians to treat epilepsy, and also, with children. There's a place, an organization called the Charlie Foundation, and they actually use the ketogenic diet to control seizures.
All right. I have one last question because of time. Actually, I have about 5 more questions, but I have one question that was supposed to end, our talk. Give everybody an idea. They're sitting down to dinner. Tell them what they're eating.
They're sitting down to dinner with me, and they're having a bowl of soup, and then they will have dinner of I would say, a ribeye steak with broccoli smothered in butter, and another side dish called mashed potatoes, which are basically imitation mashed potatoes that are it's made with cauliflower.
Oh, I heard of that. Yeah.
Yep. And for dessert, we would have some blackberries with whipped cream, but the whipped cream would be sugar-free.
All right. Now I know what I'm having for dinner for my birthday. All right. We got to end it here for our broadcast audience. I want to thank you so much. This is Thom King. He's the founder of Stevia Brands and the author of Guy Gone Keto, which I am reading right now. And this is not only about food, it's about life itself. Thank you so much for being on here, Thom.
David, thank you so much. I'm very grateful. Thanks.
All right.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak. Don't talk back. Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that.